and then take a more in-depth look at each individual principle. In chapters 8 and 9, we explain how to follow these principles as you navigate through restaurants, supermarkets, and your own kitchen. The Anti-X Diet Principles. 1. Avoid refined carbohydrates, including white flour, white rice, and white sugar and other sweeteners. 2. Eat foods in as natural and fresh a state as possible. 3. Emphasize non-starchy vegetables as your primary sources of carbohydrates. 4. Keep your intake of nutritious carbohydrate-dense foods moderate or low, depending on your health. 5. Avoid soft drinks, fruit juices, alcohol, and other highly processed drinks. 6. Eliminate omega-6 rich vegetable oils from your diet and use cold-pressed extra virgin olive oil instead. 7. Enrich your diet with omega-3 fats whenever you can. 8. Steer clear of trans fatty acids, which are found in deep-fried foods, margarine, and foods that contain partially hydrogenated oils. 9. Eat some protein at every meal and snack. Anti-X Principle 1. Avoid refined carbohydrates. Without question, the most important anti-X diet guideline is to avoid refined carbohydrates. We have described in great detail how the intake of refined carbohydrates, namely white sugar and white flour, is directly linked to the development of Syndrome X and its common consequences, including diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Although most people understand that sugar rapidly raises glucose to very high levels, fewer people understand that white flour, found in everything from bread to pretzels, does exactly the same thing. White bread, for example, has a glycemic index rating, a measurement of how high glucose levels rise after particular foods are consumed, higher than that of sugar. In other words, white bread raises glucose levels higher and faster than sugar does. That's not the only problem with white flour. Any product that contains white flour or white sugar also lacks at least some of the nutrients and fiber needed to help the body metabolize carbohydrates efficiently. The body, therefore, must draw on its own nutrient reserves to deal with foods made out of white flour and white sugar. This ultimately leads to nutrient deficiencies, such as of chromium and other nutrients, which contribute to insulin resistance. To protect yourself against Syndrome X, you should consistently avoid refined white sugar and white flour. The same problem exists for white rice, which is regarded as a healthy food in the USDA's food pyramid. White rice is stripped of the nutrients and fiber found in brown rice. Although it is fortified with iron and a few B vitamins, it is still missing numerous nutrients helpful in carbohydrate metabolism. Over time, therefore, eating nutrient-poor white rice can also lead to deficiencies, which contribute to insulin resistance. Furthermore, just like white flour products, white rice rapidly raises glucose to high levels. So, steering clear of white rice, including rice cakes, is also essential for reducing your risk of developing insulin resistance. Basically, white rice and white flour are no better than pure sugar because the body reacts to them essentially the same way. There are many hidden sugars in the diet, sweeteners that find themselves in all kinds of processed convenient foods, whether the sweetener seems fairly natural, such as honey, or is highly processed sucrose or high fructose corn syrup. It will quickly boost blood glucose to high levels. The one exception to this rule is fructose, a highly refined sugar made from corn. Unlike other sweeteners, fructose does not cause a spike in glucose levels, but it should be avoided because it promotes insulin resistance and raises cholesterol and triglyceride levels, as we explained in Chapter 4. Identifying sources of refined carbohydrates and sugars in the supermarket. Refined flour is found in foods that contain enriched flour, bleached flour, unbleached flour, semolina flour, wheat flour, and flour in the list of ingredients. These foods are often